It's the most wonderful time of the year. Master Duel just got us a new mode. It's only around for a week, but I did want to make a video about it. And that mode is Time Travel 2004. And this is basically all of the cards that were legal on October 2004 in the OCG. So some people call it OCG's GOAT format. It is kind of similar in terms of like the cards that are legal and the play style that you want to use to win games. But there are some differences, such as this deck. Back in, 2007, 2008, I was all about the gadgets, right? My pronouns were red, yellow, and green. 80% of my identity was the fact that I'm a gadget player. So naturally, I was drawn to this deck. And you don't have to play my exact build, of course, but I think this is roughly what a good gadget deck looks like. The deck is also fairly budget. You'll notice that I did craft Pot of Greed, which is an ultra rare. I also crafted a second Solemn Judgment. You get one Solemn Judgment in the Solemn Judgment bundle, which you probably want to buy anyway. But other than that, we don't really have many ultra rares. I think this deck is really nice. I think it's fairly beginner friendly. If you're good, you'll get more mileage out of this deck. But if you're like not familiar with retro Yu-Gi-Oh at all, I think you can play something like this and do pretty well. Basic idea here is that we are just summoning gadget monsters, searching other gadget monsters, and then attacking for damage while getting rid of our opponent's threats with cards like Smashing Ground and Sakuretsu Armor. That is the whole game plan there. And as far as other monsters go, you'll notice I played DD Warrior Lady Exiled with like a mini warrior package here. Reinforcement of the Army is an ultra rare, but I think you get that like at the beginning of Master Duel. I didn't buy this, right? So you can basically just play like one Rhoda for free. I mean, if you want, you can craft the second, but given that it's limited to one in, Master Duel format, you probably don't want to craft a second. And then I just also have a mini Earth package with like Injection Fairy Giant Rat. Injection Fairy is like a super rare, but I didn't really mind crafting it. So there's not a lot to say about this deck. Gadgets are also one of the loner decks, which you can play as well, but I wanted to upgrade this a bit. One of the cards that I have the mirror is Phoenix Windblast. If you Wing Blast a gadget, that is really, really strong in the mirror. And Wing Blast can be strong against other decks as well. The main downside to this deck is that it loses very hard to burn, which I will be also featuring in this video. If you really want to just make people hate you and you don't mind buying ultras, another card you can play in this deck is Ultimate Offering. It is an ultra rare, but you can play up to 3 copies. And then what you do is you use Ultimate Offering, summon a gadget, search another gadget, pay 500, summon a gadget, search another gadget. You can basically put 5 gadgets into play for free. And limiter removal is also at 3. So if you want, you can sort of take this deck and just go, well, I'm going to cut 5 cards, play like 2 ultimate offerings, 3 limiter removals. That is an option, but yeah, you would have to craft a lot of ultras for that. So I don't think most people are going to do that. Now, let's talk about some other interesting decks that we can play. This is Chaos Turbo. Now, anyone who's played actual like TCG GOAT format is very, very familiar with this deck. And I was streaming on my other channel. By the way, that's GOAT Duels if you want to check out my other channel. That's where I stream GOAT format. And on my stream the other day, someone asked me, oh, is Chaos Turbo good in this format, OCG's GOAT format? And I said no, but after thinking about it some more, I have changed my mind, and I actually do think this deck is good. And one of the reasons is that you get to play 3 Night Assailants, which is actually pretty insane. Now, in this format, we don't have Graceful Charity, but what we have instead is Mirage of Nightmare. And having Mirage of Nightmare with cards like Night Assailant, Thunder Dragon, and Sinister Serpent actually seems kind of broken. The other thing that you can do is that you can use Raigeki Break to kill your own Mirage of Nightmare and keep all the cards that you drew. Now, I don't think that's going to be a good idea very often, but it is a play that you can do. Other than that, this deck pretty much just looks like the same stuff that you would play in GOAT format. One thing that I like, though, is that you get to play Marshmallow as a generically good light monster that doesn't like mess up your deck strategy at all. So You'll notice I'm playing like the third Chaos Sorcerer. Part of the reason that I'm playing the third Chaos Sorcerer is because our Chaos monsters can get randomly discarded to Mirage and Nightmare, and I don't want to just accidentally discard all of our Chaos monsters and not have a win condition. But yeah, since we're playing like the full 4 Chaos monsters, I wanted more lights, so I added the Marshmallow. You can even add like a second Marshmallow if you want. I think it's totally fine. There are a lot of aggressive decks in this format, so having like Marshmallow and Gravekeeper Spy to wall off monsters actually just seems really nice. Now, you notice we're playing Card Destruction. This is an ultra rare, but yeah, you get that for free, and I don't know, something that you get at like the start of the game, so that's no big deal. You'll notice that we have like a few other ultras here. I haven't crafted the Change of Heart or the Heavy Storm yet. You probably want both those. Like, we're playing double Magician of Faith, so you kind of want all of the power spells here. So like, in my opinion, I wouldn't play this deck unless you can craft the Pot of Greed, the Change of Heart, and the Heavy Storm. Like, I really do think you need all 3 for this. Other than that, though, nothing is really that expensive. So Blackluster Soldier, that's also an ultra rare that you need to play this deck, but you can get it in one of the structure decks. And that structure deck costs only 500 gems. And it also has the Link BLS, which is playable in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! So like, it's actually just fine to go buy that structure for 500 gems. It's decent value. But yeah, everything else is pretty standard. You'll notice we have only 1 Dekochi, just because, like, again, in this aggressive format, it's not like super strong. We're mainly just playing it because we want to have some flip targets for Night Assailant. But I actually just don't think Dekochi is that great in this particular deck. Now, if you want to see a different take on Chaos, we also have Chaos Return, which is also pretty similar to the GOAT format version of this deck. Almost the same cards. One of the nice upgrades, though, is that we get to play 3 DD Warrior Lady. So a big part of this deck strategy is just going to be summoning DD Warrior Ladies, banishing things, and then going Return for game. Nice thing about Return here, by the way, is that it's only a super rare. Most of the banned cards in Master Duel seem to be ultra rares, but Return is one of the exceptions. It is only a super rare. And as far as like other ultras that you need for this deck, you can get away with not playing Pot of Greed. Like, if you don't want to craft the Pot of Greed, that is fine. You can still play this deck without Pot of Greed. Same with like Change of Heart and Snatch Steal. If you just don't want to play those cards, that is fine. The Heavy Storm, though, I think you kind of do need to craft because we're playing an OTK deck. So I kind of think that you should have Heavy Storm. Solemns here, also pretty good, but not mandatory. Like, if you want to just play 1 Solemn that you got from the bundle, I think it's fine. If you're cutting like some of this stuff, like maybe you play the 3rd Dust Tornado. Dust Tornado is pretty good here. Not only is it decent against the meta, because like there's a lot of burn decks, but also the fact that you can use Dust Tornado's second effect to set Return from your hand. That is a very, very strong interaction. For those who aren't familiar with this deck, though, because I realize some people won't have played GOAT format before and won't understand some of the choices, the reason that we're playing like 3 Spies, 3 Dekochis is because we can hit them with our own crossout to make a big banish pile for Return, or we can just try to get our opponent to cross them out. Usually you're just trying to get your opponent to use their crossout. But just like it is in GOAT format, I think Gravekeeper Spy is a very, very, very strong card in this format. It's great against like gadgets. It's great against some of the loner decks. Like, there's another loner deck that plays Return, and it plays like a bunch of Berserk Gorillas and DD Assailants, and Gravekeeper Spy is really, really excellent against those cards. And you'll notice here we're also playing like the mini Rhoda package again to get Warrior Lady, Grandmaster Sasuke, and Blade Knight. And yeah, Rhoda is pretty strong in this deck. I don't know like how great the Ninja Grandmaster is. If everyone else is playing Spy, it becomes like a really good card, but I haven't seen like a lot of face-up defense position monsters in this format. But it does kill things like Marshmallow, which is a card that people play, as we saw. Last, I wanted to showcase Burn only because I think it is the best deck or very close to it in this best of 1 format. It is also fairly budget. You'll notice it's weird, like both Just Desserts and Ojama Trio are super rares, so like you will have to spend some super rare points, but you really don't need a lot of ultra rares. Now, I do have Morphing Jar in this list, but you can definitely play the deck without Morphing Jar. Monsters are like fairly standard, pretty similar to the stuff that you'd be seeing in GOAT format, except we get to play 3 Marshmallons, which is an excellent card. Blocks damage and deals our opponent 1,000. We are playing double Lava Golem here, which is a little different, but I like the card because it combos with Ring. Like normally we can't use Ring to kill our opponent, but in this scenario, like say our opponent is at 4,000 life and we have a Lava Golem and a Ring set, you can chain the Ring to Lava Golem's standby phase effect. Your opponent will take 3k and then the Lava Golem will kill you. This Ring is actually doing a ton of work in this deck. The weakness of the deck, the obvious weakness, is that this deck doesn't want to play against Royal Decree, and there's a loner deck that has 3 Royal Decrees in it. So you're basically just saying, hey, I'm going to scoop to Royal Decree and beat everything else, which, you know, I think is pretty good. You could also take this deck like in the direction of Panda Burn, which is the most popular burn variant in GOAT format. I decided not to go with that only because like no one really plays Scapegoat in this format, so Panda doesn't fill the role of being a counter to Scapegoat, but like it does combo with your Ojama Trio. Note that in this format, you do get to play 3 Gravity Bind, which is kind of nice. You can also play the 3rd level limit if you want. You can definitely change the build around a fair bit. Like as long as you're playing the core of Just Desserts, Secret Barrel, Ojama Trio, you're gonna do fine. I also think Nightmare Wheel is, I mean, this card's really good in GOAT format, and I think it's really good here too. Definitely good at like just locking down a Lava Golem or something. Big Shield Gardener, I don't think you necessarily have to play, but I like it for the same reasons that I like it in GOAT format. If we have a level limit in play, our big shield can never shift to attack. While it's set, our opponent cannot hit it with Nobleman to Crossout, and they cannot hit it with Change of Heart, which is a card that a lot of people will be playing. So that's kind of nice. And if they attack into it while it's set, they are going to take a ton of damage because it is 2,600 defense. Some of the monsters can definitely be swapped out, but like I like Mask of Darkness here too. Just because, look, we got tons and tons of chops to get back. Some of them, like Ring of Destruction, are quite powerful. If you just get, like, a Just Desserts back, that is fine, too. So, if you absolutely want to make your opponents miserable and you just want to play the deck that gets free wins, this is the deck that gets free wins. Anyways, I hope that this game mode is well received. I hope that Konami brings it back soon. And if you want to see like some sort of retro style GOAT format content, I would recommend checking out my other channel. It's a lot more popular than this one. Some of you already know it, but if you don't, that channel is GOAT Duels. And if you want to see the stream where I played some of these decks, then you should check out this video. I don't know, over here somewhere, probably.